What's My Line? Brought to you by Kellogg's. Kellogg's Cereals. The best to you each morning from Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now let's all play What's My Line? And now, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, a wonderful guy, Mr. Linkletter.
On my left is the charming young lady who is not only an actress and a model, panel moderator, but is going to be a coast-to-coast commuter starting this week when she flies between here and Hollywood to make a movie out there with Doris Day and to do What's My Line each Sunday night here. Arlene Francis.
And now, the president of Random House and Beginner Books and a prince of good fellows, Mr. Bennett, sir.
And now, as always, it's my pleasure to introduce that consistently eloquent but sometimes disquietingly evasive panel moderator,
Wow.
John Pop Daly.
You can always tell when Bette's been away lecturing for a couple of weeks. Man, was that an introduction. Art Linkletter, it's very nice to see you on the panel again. Trust that you enjoy this next half hour. We have some interesting occupations to engage your attention. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before my friends on the panel a little bit later in the program, and we'll meet our first challenger after. And now to meet our first challenger. Will you enter and sign in, please? Mimi Paulson, is that right? Miss or Mrs.? Miss Paulson, where are you from?
From Haugesund in Norway.
Haugesund in Norway?
Yes.
No, that's very interesting indeed. Very interesting indeed. Well, it's nice to have you here in the United States.
Thank you.
Get on with the game, John.
Well, no, I'm thinking. I went to Haugesund not this past summer, but the summer before.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, on that hydrofoil boat, you know.
Oh, I bet maybe there were no.
Beg your pardon. Well, Miss Paulson, may I present the panel? As you can see, they're overeager, but come with me, please. Do you know how we keep score on What's My Line?
Yes.
In that event, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. Well, now we can tell you, panel, that Miss Paulson is salaried and deals in a service. Now, I know Art Linkletter is in New York because he's going to speak at the 100th anniversary of the YMCA this week. Are you not, Art?
Tomorrow night, yes.
Fine. Well, then I think we might as well put you to work here first, too. So go on.
She is salaried and performs a service?
Right.
Does this service involve human beings?
Yes.
Does it make the human beings that it is involving happy?
Both. Mostly.
Both?
Yes, mostly they make them happy, yes.
Both of them are happy?
No, what we're trying to say here is that in the delivery of the service, it is possible that under one set of circumstances, the people who might be involved would be happy about it. Equally, there might be a set of circumstances under which the service was given when it would not exactly produce joy. Right?
Yes.
Yes, could I have a translation of that after the program?
Well, that means yes and no, really.
All right. Does this involve your own personal? Do you come in contact with the people for whom you are performing this so-called happy service?
Yes.
You speak now of physical contact?
No, just within the environs of the room.
Well, let me say that in the performance of the service, we can reasonably assume that Miss Paulson will come in contact with other human beings. This is not necessarily to say that in every case that a benefiter of the service will be in direct contact with her.
Oh, boy.
John, that son of yours is never going to get a word in edgewise.
Vaccinated with a phonograph needle. I wonder if you could tell us, or rather I assume that you can tell us, that this is indoor work.
Yes.
It is indoor. And it is, involves mental services.
Yes.
In Norway.
Yes.
Well, let's say it could in Norway, yes.
That is where you work.
Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time.
Well, now, are you asking the question, does Miss Paulson work in the geographical limits of the nation known as Norway most of the time?
No.
Oh, good.
I know you for what you are, Daly. Is this is seasonal work?
No.
No, that's very good. That's one down and 9 to go. Don't say any more. No is all we need to say there. Miss Francis?
Do you give advice in any way in your job?
Yes.
Do you have to have formal training for your job?
Yes.
You have to have a college diploma?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Sir.
Miss Paulson, Mr. Linkletter was trying to ask you when he was subverted by Mr. Daly whether or not you came into physical contact at any time with the people whom you served. I will now ask you that question.
Well, sometimes.
Well, let me say that any physical contact that was involved would be perhaps accidental would be the word, and certainly not necessary to the performance of the service,
No.
would you say? So since it is not necessary to the performance of the service.
Necessarily. I asked if she came into physical contact, John. And if
Well,
she
I
does,
don't,
then...
actually. I
That's
don't
fine.
know.
That's the right answer. No. 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
In other words, Miss Paulson, you don't do more than shake hands with them.
Exactly.
Do you speak to them?
Oh, yes.
And as a result of this, does something happen to them?
Yes.
Do you ever speak sharply to them?
No.
No?
Well, I
Have they
would
done
say...
something naughty?
No, I would say, well, in that term of reference, fine, Dorothy. No. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Linkletter.
Is this service one which has a lengthy duration? In other words, they're liable to be seeing you over quite a span of time.
Oh, I don't know what you're saying.
Well,
At
that's
least
fine. That
more
makes
than-
2 of us who don't know what he's saying. What is it that you're trying to get as to whether an individual seeking this service would be in the presence of Miss Paulson for an extended period of time?
No, but they would come back over an extended length of time. This is a service that she would render one person for perhaps several months.
Well,
It would
it is...
not be consummated in one...
Careful there, boy. Down, boy.
I would say that the people who were in her area and would seek her out for the service might well seek her out over a period of time to have this service performed, right?
And is this service for adults? This service is for grown-up people.
Oh, yes.
And for both men and women.
Yes.
And it results in them becoming better people.
Not necessarily, no.
I mean, they're more adjusted to their work and you're not a psychiatrist.
That's fine. 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
She would have had to have a
That's
college
right. She
degree
needs a
for
college
that.
degree.
I'm going to give you 1 more minute.
Let me ask you something. Do you work for a non-profit-making organization?
No.
They make profit wherever
Yes.
you are.
Oh, yes.
6 down and 4 to go, Mr.
Miss
Sir.
Paulson, have you got anything to do with the entertainment industry?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Could a man do what you do?
Yes.
Are you in communications at all?
Yes.
Are you in radio or television?
Yes.
Well, that's entertainment.
Do you also write, perhaps? Or announce?
No, because in radio, in a manner of speaking. You want to take a shot, Art? I'm going to throw the towel in, I think.
I'm through.
Dorothy has opened the door, which I think, given sufficient time, would have led you up the right path. And I must say, I don't blame you at all for having a little trouble with this, because Miss Paulson is probably the prettiest radio operator on shipboard that you have ever seen. And I must say I'm glad that you gave them trouble because my wife's grandfather on her father's side came from Hoggerson.
Oh, really?
Yes, see, I know Hoggerson very well. Actually, Miss Paulson has a license and has served aboard. She wears a blue uniform,
Yes.
blue jacket and slacks and
Oh, that's good.
or a skirt. Can wear a skirt, too.
What ship are you on, Miss Paulson?
Sloughtame. That's cargo. They go with ammunition.
Don't the sailors resent it? They consider a woman bad luck at sea.
No, they don't.
Not that one.
And I might also say at this point, Miss Paulson, that I'm sure put to the test, Mr. Linkletter would not think it was bad luck either. So there. Thank you very much for being our guest.
Thank
It's nice
you.
to have had you on What's My Life. Now, let's meet a second challenger. Will you enter and sign in, please?
Tiny Tim.
Dell Winders, is that right? Well, where are you from, Mr. Winders?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, as you can see, you have a lot of neighbors and friends in the house working with you already. May I present our panel, Mr. Winders? Now, would you join me here, please? Do you know how we keep score?
Yes, sir.
Fine. We'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mr. Winders is also salaried and deals in a service. And let's begin the general questioning, heading in the scoreboard back to the beginning with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mr. Winders, you look very athletic. Do you have anything to do with athletics?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Linkletter.
You look very tanned and windblown. Do you work outdoors?
Not at present.
But I think what we will agree there is that you could and have, so that
I have,
with your
yes.
permission, we'll give him a qualified yes.
And your work is definitely physical of some kind. You handle things. You use muscles.
You mean as a vital and critical ingredient of the service that he performs?
No.
That's fine. 2 down and 8 to go.
no.
Miss Francis.
I presume that the fact that you are so tiny has nothing whatsoever to do with your job.
Not necessarily.
Right. Do you wear something other than an ordinary suit such as yours? No insult to your suit. I mean to the usual gentleman's clothing. Do you wear something other than that
Yes.
in your job? If you had it on at this moment, would it be an indication to me what you do?
Not necessarily, no.
I'm very sharp, you know.
No, I think that's fair, Ollie. I think it would point in a direction, but it would not really give you basic identification. 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mr. Winders, do you toil for a non-profit making organization?
No, sir.
Small question, please. Okay. Well, benefit. Hey, boy, that's fine. 4 down and 6 to go. That's
What
Miss
did they
Kilgallen.
just get a no to? I
He
forgot.
does not work for a non-profit organization.
Oh. It's not athletics, and it can be done out of doors, but it can be done indoors, too?
Yes.
Is this uniform you wear a type of coverall? Is
No.
it protective?
Nope. 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Linkletter.
Your work, does it require any formal training for you to have been able to do it?
No, sir.
6 down and 4 to go. Now, we're assuming here, Art, that you are speaking again of areas in which would lead to a degree or at least
Yes,
some certificate of advanced education. So that's 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Francis.
Would you come in contact with the people that you deal with?
You speaking of physical contact?
You tell me what other kind there is, John, and I'm not interested.
Well,
Just mental contact? A boy that looks like that?
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Stern.
Mr. Wenders, there was some hesitation on both your part and Mr. Daly's when I asked about this non-profit business. Do you have any dealings with any branch of the armed services in the work that you do?
No, sir.
8 down and 2 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Do you have anything to do with either a church or a hospital?
No, no, ma'am.
9 down and 1 to go, Mr. Linkletter.
I think you're a sparring partner for Sonny Liston. I haven't the faintest clue.
We
Arlene, you
haven't
have...
touched communications.
Bennett.
Or transportation.
Transportation, that's very good. That's 10 down and no more to go. That's fine. Now, this again was a very tough one because Mr. Winders is a porpoise trainer.
A what?
Porpoise trainer. You know those wonderful mammals that can do...
Porpoise.
Yeah.
You did this on purpose.
I did Mr. Winders, I can only offer the apologies of the entire program. No, but actually, the reason I was concerned about the non-profit issue is that Mr. Winders is now working with 7 porpoises, or porpoisei, which is correct.
Porpoise. Porpoise or porpoises.
Porpoises.
Porpoise.
And they will perform... They will perform at the new aquarium that is going to open in Philadelphia next month, isn't it?
Yes, it's the aqua.
What will they do?
Could I ask you...
Everything.
What about this white porpoise that they... do you know anything about that white porpoise that I read about somewhere or other?
They've been attempting to catch it for several years.
They finally
and it's quite
got
an
it, didn't
attraction, yes.
Down in Miami.
At the Miami Seaquarium.
You went to one of Bennett's speeches, and that's what happened. Well, Mr. Winders, thank you very much for puzzling the panel completely, and I hope you enjoyed your visit.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
nice to have you with us. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from our sponsor. I've been looking at some notes here in these last few seconds. I suppose it'll surprise you, as it did me, that there are 1,400,000 undetected diabetes cases in these United States. Now, it requires of all of us, I think, as individuals, that we be alert and get tested. Be tested and be sure that you're not one of the 1,400,000. Be alert to the possibility that you may have it and not know it. So the only way to be sure is to call your doctor, your local diabetes association or medical society about a test this week, which is, after all, Diabetes Week. And now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger. And the panel is always blindfolded at this time. Are those blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes, John?
Yes,
Good.
they
Will
are.
you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right. All right. Panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise. And let's begin with Bennett, sir.
Well, that was a spectacular ovation that you received, Mr. or Miss Mystery Guest. Would it be possibly because you had made a great name for yourself in motion pictures?
Yes.
Miss Kilgallen,
Are you a blonde?
Mr. Linkletter,
Do you have a new picture just out?
Miss Francis.
Boy, try to fake that voice. It's the most impersonated voice in America. Have you just done a picture with a vis-a-vis who is also a big name in the picture business?
Would the vis-a-vis be a lady who has also been a mystery guest here within the past month named Miss Joan Crawford?
All together now. 1, 2, 3.
Betty Davis.
Betty Davis.
I must tell you, I was here 10 years ago I had the worst case of laryngitis 10 years ago. I swear to God, you do it to me, I'll start it tonight. I've been taping a show all day. This is all I have. And I got the spooks. I woke up this morning, I said, they won't believe me. They'll think I never had anything but laryngitis. I'm so sorry.
I can't figure out whether that's you or John Daly talking.
I think probably the funny part about it was that the laryngitis really, in its way, gave you all a clue almost immediately when it was Betty Davis with it.
Yeah.
They're too sharp.
Oh, they are too sharp. I don't know. I got a hunch you and I ought to get up and leave
And
this.
Baby Jane.
Oh, no.
Almost.
No.
One
Beg
place.
your pardon. No, I talked rather Bronxy there. No.
Well, the
Davis,
picture...
I've just come back from Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and it seems to me your picture's playing at every motion picture theater in Florida. It's all over the place.
Well, you know, we were chosen by the motion picture theater owners as a sort of a test run for what they call preview engagements. We were very fortunate we were chosen. The theory being not to wait till certain specific times when they think it will be best for a motion picture, usually just before the Academy or something like that. And we opened in 137 theaters in Manhattan alone.
Amazing.
22 of which I have done in 3 days in a Greyhound bus.
You're entitled to laryngitis.
Let me...
It's just absolute fatigue, I know.
Oh,
but
that's all
it's
it is.
spooky. It's just spooky, and I blame every one of you.
I'll get laryngitis.
And may I congratulate you?
Thank you, Betty, very much.
And I think your son will get a word in edgewise. I think he's wrong.
Well, I think he won't have any trouble where I'm concerned, but with Bennett, I doubt very much. He'll never get in a word. Let me clarify things. We're talking about a picture that's excited everybody who loves great excellence in the stage, in the theater, in the movies. Whatever happened to Baby Jane with Miss Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. You have won 2 Academy Awards, if memory serves me right.
Very old boys and very tarnished. A long time ago.
Well, I
They were
think
so
a bright,
tarnished.
shiny new one is what is necessary and will be
Well, I
forthcoming.
think my 2 old boys will be pretty pleased, but you never know.
You never do know till the time, but we'll hope for you. And thanks a lot
Thank
for
you.
coming to
Oh,
see us
thank
with that
you.
laryngitis.
And please, I don't croak all the time.
We all know that, Miss Betty. Thank you. Well, I must say, panel, that with the mystery guest, we'll have to say you're doing rather well so far this evening. And we'll be back after this word from our alternate sponsor. And good night, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Good night, John. Good night, Art. Happy Y.
Thank you. Good night, Arlene. See you in Hollywood.
Thank you. I hope so, Art. It was lovely to have you here. Good night, dear Bette, and good night, Virginia and Baby.
I think the ovation the audience gave Betty Davis tonight just shows you there's no substitute for class. And that goes for you, too, John.
Oh, well, thank you, Bennett. I've got some good news for the panel and for all of you at home. Next week on our panel with us is going to be an old, old friend, Steve Allen. Thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Cotton. Johnny Olson speaking.